Hey, what's up, good people? How you doing? My name is Alex Mack, one half of the A.n.A podcast. I'm just here right quick, just to give a little, a quick little video. And this is something regarding like Vince McMahon. I know there's a lot of controversy going on with WWE right now, especially with concerning like the chairman of the board. Yeah, I don't know a lot about it. I haven't really been into wrestling in about 20 years, really, but I still like YouTube clips or a couple podcasts here and there. You know what I'm saying? But I really don't know exactly what's going on with it. I just know it's pretty big right now. Like people are leaving. Vince has stepped down. There was like a payout to a employee or something like that. I don't know, but so this one is so I'm just gonna react to a quick little video about the whole thing, or just about Vince McMahon and WWE in general. And this is something like Hood's not that into wrestling or whatever, so he'd be pretty cool with sitting this one out. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. So let me go ahead and get it started. Let's see what we got here. Yeah. All right. So, yep. Here we go. Top 10 biggest Vince McMahon controversies. This should be good because I know there's a bunch of them. So, yeah, let's go.
Well, it would appear that there were no precautionary measures taken. Why not?
First of all, I resent your tone.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 Vince McMahon controversies.
WWE founder Vince McMahon has stepped away from wrestling as the board of the company investigates a $3 million payment made to a former employee.
For this list, we'll be ranking the instances where the chairman and CEO of the WWE has faced backlash.
But I mean, 3 million is nothing to him. You know what I'm saying? That's 3 mil is nothing. That was probably light work for him. So he probably thought just 3 mil and it'll go away or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. That's crazy. So what exactly? Hopefully they go into what happened, but I don't know. Let's see.
As a result of his in-character or real-life actions. Do you know any we missed? Let us know in those comments below. Number 10, a poor choice of words.
Yeah.
One of the most tone-deaf moments of Vince McMahon's on-camera career occurred during a backstage segment with John Cena from Survivor Series 2005. Vince's fictional character of Mr. McMahon was asking Cena what was good in the hood before ending the exchange with a racial slur that we won't repeat in this video. It should be said that the entire segment was obviously pre-planned and agreed upon by all parties, including...
Yeah, I remember this. I remember this clear, and I remember this one exactly. Like that was wild. And this is probably like early 2000s or something when this happened. But even then, it was jarring, yo, because it's like, and it was crazy. Like he just straight up said the N-word like right at Booker T. Like it was
Booker
wild.
T, whose reactionary exclamation of "Tell me he didn't just say that" is clearly played up for laughs. However, the segment just doesn't play the same way in the present day. Number 9, mocking Jim Ross. Jim Ross is a legend in the professional wrestling industry, a once-in-a-lifetime announcer who's also been instrumental behind the scenes. His tenure with the E had seen some shaky moments, however, such as the instance where Vince McMahon would openly mock Ross's diagnosis of Bell's palsy live on the air. This was horrifically nothing new, as the WCW character Oklahoma was also a direct parody of Ross, but Vince didn't let it stop there, unfortunately. McMahon also poked fun at Ross's real-life colon surgery in a WWE skit alongside a character named Dr. Heine, and even made the celebrated announcer join Vince's not-so-esteemed Kiss My Ass Club. Number 8, the Montreal Screwjob.
I don't know what it was. Like Vince always, or JR always had some kind of heat with Vince. Like always had some kind of heat with Vince, which don't make sense because, like, everybody knows like JR is an absolute legend. Like he has called a lot of matches that will just go on in our memories like forever, you know. And for some reason, JR has always had heat with Vince. I don't even think JR actually knows why, but has he gone into it? That it'd be interesting to know.
With its back to the
Number 7, poaching the territories. There's no denying the vision and fortitude that went into Vince McMahon's decision to move into professional wrestling's old school territory system and systematically lure away all their top talent.
Popular wrestlers began to leave their territories for the WWF with promises of increased exposure and bigger paydays.
The idea that wrestling could and should be widely broadcast and crossover commercialized was something that helped make the WWF and WWE the global juggernaut it is today.
McMahon's goal? To make the WWF the premier pro wrestling promotion in the United States.
However, it also made Vince McMahon one of the most controversial men in the business, thanks to his brazen line-stepping and fearless breaking of wrestling's unspoken yet defining rules. The once fertile map of small-time wrestling promotions with top guy talents was eventually whittled away, to the point where Vince McMahon became the best game in town for wrestlers seeking to reach the top of their trade.
So in other words, you crushed.
Yeah, so that's a lot of the reasons why wrestling kind of died like recently, and it's had a resurgence as of late, but it was really bad and really bleak for a long time. And like you kind of can blame Vince for that, because he did kind of like buy out all the smaller territories, and so like wrestling became one huge kind of like monopoly of just WWE, and that for WCW hung in there for a little while, but Vince bought them out too, you know. And like the last time wrestling was like really good was when the WWE and WCW were both like going head to head, you know, and that was the last time for me that like wrestling was really good. And yeah, and it got really, I don't know, it wasn't the same, because everybody's in the same place, everybody's going for the same titles, nobody goes away, you know, and you know you're seeing the same people week after week after week. And yeah, it was just it wasn't good. And then he like kind of changed to this like PG, like they call this the PG era now, where it's not as risque. There's no color anymore, or bleeding. Nobody bleeds, nobody gets color anymore. And yeah, it kind of sucked. And it took decades for it to like get okay again. Like it's not even like good anymore. It's like it's okay right now. You know what I mean?
These people.
And not competed with them. And you won. I mean, so what?
Number 6, the Owen Hart incident.
Yeah.
The Vice series Dark Side of the Ring has been a wellspring of fascinating information and revelatory interviews regarding some of pro wrestling's most controversial stories. One particular episode dealt with the events leading up to and following the tragic demise of Owen Hart at a live WWF pay-per-view back in 1999.
I'm thinking in my head, what the heck was that? And when I turned and looked, there was Owen. He was like laying in the ring, like face up.
There are some, including members of Hart's immediate family, that criticized Vince McMahon and his company for not stopping the show after Owen fell to his death during a ring entrance.
And they went on with the show.
Further controversy was also brought to the table regarding exactly how safe the rigging was that Hart was wearing during the fall. Owen's widow would later settle with the company for $18 million in damages.
I didn't care about the money. It wasn't about money for me. I wanted this case to go to trial.
Number 5, from wrestling to sports.
What was really bad about that too was that like Owen tragically died in the ring, and they pretty much just like took his body out the ring and the show kept going. And I was a huge Owen Hart fan too, and that's still really bad. It's still like really, it rubs a lot of us the wrong way too, like still. And like Owen's wife and like family still like I think they still haven't I guess like was it reconvened or whatever, and I kind of don't blame her either. You know, I know a lot of people would say like it's been enough time, just let it go, because like Owen isn't in, at least I don't think he in the WWE like merchandise or anything like that, because his wife just kind of like holds him up in like legal stuff or whatever. But I mean, I get it. I get it. Like that was bad. That was really bad.
It's entertainment. There's a clear line of distinction between Mr. McMahon, the fictional character, and the actual practices of Vince McMahon, the businessman.
Since taking over from his father, McMahon has almost single-handedly turned American wrestling from an old-fashioned grunt and groan spectacle into an unfolding melodrama for mass audiences.
The landscape of pro wrestling was a very different one in the 80s and 90s, and things were about to change with regards to how McMahon's company was gonna operate. It was back in 1989 when Vince testified to the New Jersey Senate about how professional wrestling should be deregulated, and thus exempt from rules that apply to other sports operating under the state athletic commissions. The decision was viewed very differently at the time and today, with some arguing that it removed the WWE from dealing with certain corrupt behavior from commission officials, while others saw it as dangerous to the health and well-being of performers.
We're in the sports entertainment business, and there is a huge philosophical difference between being in strictly the wrestling business and being in the sports entertainment business as we are.
Number 4, superstars and healthcare. Speaking of health, the classification of professional wrestling has always been in contention, but today a light is shined upon that area of the business more than ever. Last Week Tonight with John Oliver released an in-depth discussion on the topic back in 2019, criticizing the company's policy of treating its superstars as independent contractors rather than employees.
While you might reasonably think that the wrestlers employed by him are his employees, they're actually not. They're merely independent contractors.
Although the WWE wheel is made up of many important cogs, the influence of Vince McMahon is massive upon everyday decisions, including the fact that superstars must pay for healthcare out of pocket.
They also don't get paid annual leave, pensions, or health insurance.
The company, for their parts, responded to the Oliver piece and stressed the importance of their talent wellness program. Still, the issue remains a controversial and hotly debated one today.
They now have annual physical examinations. That's just nothing. I have to take one of those every year to host this show, and I've never once exploded through this table.
Number 3, allegations of assault and harassment. Vince McMahon may have recently stepped down, for the moment, as WWE CEO, but this isn't the first time allegations of sexual assault and harassment have come up in the news.
I have pledged my complete cooperation, and I will do everything possible to support the investigation.
One-time WWF referee Rita Chatterton alleged that McMahon forced himself upon her in a limousine back on July 16, 1986. Former WWF diva Sable also sued the company in 1999 for harboring a culture of sexual harassment, while the current accusations against McMahon allege that the CEO...
Wait, hold on, Sable sued him? I'd never heard that before. Sable sued Vince McMahon? And he pushed her to the moon. Like, Sable was everywhere. Like, what, late 90s? Early 2000s? Sable was everywhere, didn't she? Because I think she was married to Mark Mero at one point, and like Mark Mero came over from WCW as Johnny B. Good, and she came with her because they were like married, right? And so I remember there were matches with Mark Mero, and then like Sable would be at like in his corner or like around the ring as like his roadie or manager or whatever, right? And all of a sudden Mark Mero started disappearing and Sable was like in the ring all of a sudden. Like, that's crazy. Like, how, that's wild to think about, because she was doing like Playboy shoots and all that other stuff off the strength of being in the WWE. So yeah, that's wild. Like, as much as they pushed her and then she just turns around and like sues them, that means it must have been like bad. It must have been bad, bro.
Has made out hush money payments to an employee with whom he had an affair.
McMahon paid a former employee who he allegedly had an affair with $3 million to keep her quiet.
The Saudi deal.
Yeah.
We mentioned John Oliver's show earlier on our list, and this wasn't the only time the HBO host lent his name to those who criticized some of WWE's decisions. Last Week Tonight also joined others who have criticized the WWE and by default Vince McMahon's strategic partnership with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
The WWE is going full steam ahead with Crown Jewel in partnership with a country that, remember, just murdered and dismembered a journalist for the Washington Post.
The Saudi deal has been in effect since 2014 and is currently slated to continue through 2027, a partnership that has thrived financially despite criticism against the KSA's human rights policies, as well as its alleged involvement with the assassination of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Although the company has made history by presenting women's wrestling in Saudi Arabia for the first time, the partnership continues to be heavily debated.
Saudi is no different, and again, people are people. It's, and cultures are cultures, and you have to respect that.
Before we continue,
yeah, that's that kind of like money over everything mindset, like, and imagine those wrestlers like after, because I think they went like months after that whole Washington Post thing happened, with that reporter. So imagine how you could. And I remember hearing a story about they were on the plane getting ready to leave Saudi Arabia, but they had to sit on the plane for like hours because something was happening within the airport or within the government or something like that. So imagine being there. And like, first off, you got to get there and I think they were there for like a week or whatever. And it's like, you got to go out there, you got to put on a show, you got to be entertaining. And then you finally like, okay, we're getting out of here, let's go. But no, they hold you on the plane for like 5 or 6 hours or whatever. You just sitting there not knowing if the military is going to bust in the plane and like drag everybody out or what, right? Like that's crazy. I don't know. I wouldn't put people in that position. You know what I'm saying? But hey, that's that money over everything mindset. You know what I mean? So
be sure to subscribe to our channel.
Number 1, the steroid trial.
I promise that the World Wrestling Federation will be the standard bearer for drug-free sports and entertainment.
It could have easily been the day that everything came crumbling down for the WWF, but instead the United States of America v. McMahon et al. Saw the company emerge from one of their toughest fights, the steroid trial. It was alleged that Vince McMahon personally oversaw the distribution of illegal anabolic steroids to wrestlers on his company's roster.
If convicted, McMahon faces 8 years in prison and $500,000 in fine.
The allegations stemmed from the testimony of convicted doctor George Zahorian, who had previously been employed by the company as a ringside physician. It was alleged that Zahorian's steroid distribution went all the way up the WWF's corporate chain to Vince McMahon himself. But the distribution charges were ultimately dropped, and McMahon was found not guilty on the counts of conspiracy.
It was almost like, Hulk Hogan had just won a match at Madison Square Garden.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out
yeah, that was, everybody was juicing back then. Everybody was juicing. Unfortunately, a lot of those wrestlers aren't here today because they were juicing. It was, I don't even know if you can call it an open secret. Like, you could just look at, like, the Ravishing Rick Rude clip they showed on there. Like, yeah, they're kind of juicing. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, that's a lot. And that's just one of the reasons why wrestling isn't, I always call it wrestling. But, there's one of the reasons why it's just not the same anymore. It's just like, it's so much behind the scenes stuff happening now it's kind of even more damning or sometimes even more entertaining than what's like happening inside the ring. And with the rise of AEW, and yeah, it's just I mean, for better or for worse, I mean, wrestling is still kind of entertaining. It's not the kind of entertaining that I want it to be, basically. But yeah, man. All right, so yeah, I'm done. I'm shutting up. This was another little interlude from A.n.A. podcast. My name is Alex Mack. Once again, standing in for Alex Hood, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.